Thank you all for joining Tocsin Magazine's The State of Rochester. Tonight we have Council Member Jose Peo and a few more guests. So what we're going to do is introduce each one of you one by one. So I'm going to start with Mike Bleeg and Jane.
Okay, well, as she said, I'm Mike Bleeg. I live down next to 250,000 people buried in the ground at Mount Hope Cemetery. So I live across the street from them. And I'm continuing to do work in police and racial justice related work, both in the court system and with the police themselves. So that's what I've been doing most lately.
Jane Bleeg, I'm very involved with Dharma Refuge, a Buddhist community in the city of Rochester. Mike and I moved to the house that we live in 11 years ago because we both wanted to live in the city again after not being in the city for 10 years. We originally said that we wanted to be able to vote in the mayoral race, but I feel really a strong desire to be actively involved in city things. We have a free food stand and a little free library, and I try to stay abreast of what's going on in the city and working towards equity, justice, and as good a life for everyone as Mike and I experience here.
Barbara?
Hi, Barbara Grosh. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters in Rochester. We spend most of our time trying to make sure that people are registered to vote, that they are knowledgeable about what's on the ballot. We try to organize candidate debates and our online candidate information center, vote411.org. And for the last 3 months, I've been pretty wrapped up with the redistricting process for the city, for the county ledge, because I think they did push through some pretty stinky gerrymandered districts, and we're hoping that Adam Bello will veto them and we can start over with the new legislature. So I'm pretty interested if people have anything to say about the new legislature, and Sabrina Lamar is in a unique position. I'd love to hear thoughts about how that's going to work out.
Fred?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fred Tanksley. I'm a member of the Take It Down Planning Committee, Faith Community Alliance, and I'm interested in how can we curb the issues within the city of Rochester, and that's been my plight and fight for many years now, and finding running into brick walls and the different silos that are within the community that really hinders movement with galvanizing the people. So I'm hoping to gain some information and that will help us move that initiative along.
Howard?
Good evening again. I'm Howard Eagle, a member of the Take It Down Planning Committee and a city resident.
Okay, Jose?
I am Jose Peo, City Councilman for the Northwest District. Was elected 2 years ago, and proud to have been chosen by my district to represent them. I'm very happy to be amongst this group. I see some really strong leaders here, which is fantastic. To see the different things that we're all focused on, it's really good to see, and I think it's pretty representative of Rochester as a whole too.
So Jose, tell us some things that you have worked on in the past that we may not know about.
Sure. One of the biggest things that people don't realize is the Northwest District has about 75% of the manufacturing and warehouse jobs in all of the city. So one of my main concerns was, job training, support for those who are re-entering the job market or want to get into a new career. And we've had in the Northwest the highest amount of money input for job training programs. We by far, no other district has come close to the amount of money that we have invested into the Northwest when it comes to manufacturing, also when it comes to new jobs surrounding the urban agriculture and business, a lot of business grants as well. I've been working with Highland Planning, with starting new business associations to try and get new grants for them as well. The Northwest has had the second highest amount of new business growth in all of the city as well, in terms of grants for new businesses. So I'm very proud of the behind the scenes work that I do, because I as much as unfortunately you got to be in the news and you got to be in front of the camera and all that, I would much rather just stick to the work that is done on daily to improve people's lives. I think putting more opportunity for future business owners and more opportunity for people to put more money in their pocket is huge. I think that if we're really going to talk about getting out of poverty, we really need to get people trained and get them the knowledge of how to start, operate, run, finance, market a business. I really believe that that's the groundwork for building specifically the Northwest, is getting more jobs into the Northwest for people to be able to be trained for, get the jobs, grow their family quality of life.
All right. Who has a question for Jose? Jane?
Mr. Peo, I'm wondering if you're familiar with teen empowerment and whether that group is yet, I'm not sure if they're yet doing anything in the Northwest or whether there are any plans to expand them into the Northwest. I know ideally they'd love to be in all 4 quadrants.
Actually, I just ran into them the other day, which is funny. That's why I smiled when you brought them up, because I just got their card, and I told them that is certainly something I want to be put forth, especially amongst the school age kids, to make sure that they know that there's stuff to do after school, on weekends, to really build up their life, because there's a lot of trouble that our kids can get into. So I would love to work with them, and if you are already doing work with them as well, I mean, I hope to work with you as well. But I have not been with them before. I've not worked with them before. I'd be absolutely happy to see them more in the Northwest. That's for sure. They look like they're a good crowd. They look like a good group of kids that were doing good things. I would love to see more of it.
We've been following them from actually before they came here. Doug Ackley met with me when I was, I can't remember if I was with Rochester Grantmakers Forum at the time or doing consulting work then. And I talked with him, he talked with me about bringing that group here from Boston in the first place. And so we've followed them very carefully and have been incredibly impressed. And don't let the fact that it's run by a white guy hold you short. They employ lots of youth of color. They help them learn leadership skills. They have more people of color on their staff, including folks that started out as youth that they employed. We are both really, really, really impressed with them. And it's been one of my desires since they first moved here that they have a presence in all 4 quadrants. I think they're able to work with those kids who kind of could go either way,
Right,
and get them on a real positive track with their peers and led by their peers and giving them leadership skills. So I'm not actively involved with them. We both support them every year. And I would just urge you to pay close attention to them.
absolutely. I'll put my my email into the chat here. If you can send me any information, any contact information you might have that I could follow back up with them, that'd be fantastic. I appreciate that.
That'd be super. Doug Ackley is the white guy I referred to, but he's got lots of other folks on his staff.
Excellent.
Fred?
Okay. Well, 2 things. What have you brought forth? What would you say that in your time in office that you brought forth that has impacted the community the most? And what is your number one goal this coming year?
That's an excellent question. Number one thing I would say is working with the city administration to get the work done behind the scenes. When it came to the home buyers grants, it used to take 90 days. So I was in mortgages, so I knew that working with the city grant to purchase homes, a lot of sellers didn't want to accept those offers because it was taking 90 days or more for the grant to go through. And within the first couple of months, I brought that forward to the NBD and I said, look, this can't happen. We need to cut this down. We were able to cut that down to 60 days. And that was all within a couple of months of me being in office. The other part was the business growth, working with the NBD as well for the grants, getting that information out. I have my own app. I don't know of another politician that has their own app that people can download from either the Apple Store or the Android store. And it has all the information on there. I send out, it's like quick little tweets basically that goes right through the app and it gives people information immediately. So when it comes to like COVID testing sites or the sites where they're handing out the testing kits, I'm able to directly talk to my constituents right through my app and not have to go through, the news media or social media or anything like that. I still do that, but it has a direct connection with my district members. And I think that that's been pretty impactful for people to be able to speak directly to their representative. You had a second part to the question there, Fred. I'm so sorry.
Yes, what is your number one initiative for this coming year?
So my big thing has always been looking towards 2-3 years down the road, how that looks, and then working back, how to get that accomplished so that if I'm not in this seat in the next, 2-3 years, that if the work is still going forward. My biggest thing is Charlotte Beach is one of the last remaining places that can draw people into the city of Rochester from outside the state. People can come here like they used to back in the day for the beach. There's a lot of people getting married down there. A lot of people are vacationing here. A lot of people are coming here and staying in Airbnbs to visit their family members, children when they're going to college. Charlotte Beach is a destination for a lot of them, but we don't have anything there for families. That's always been my concern in Charlotte is I am a young, we have a young family. Me and my wife are under 40. The kids are young teenagers and we don't have anything there. So if we have people coming in from out of town, they're coming to the beach. They don't have anything to spend their money on. The fast ferry was a flunky from the beginning, unfortunately. I wish that we had a little more time to build up Charlotte area for that. But I really believe that if we create more of a, let's say like a Jersey Shore type of feel, somewhere there's shops along the path, an actual boardwalk, make it a year-round destination, then we can actually spread out the city of Rochester. So not everyone's on top of each other, number one. Number two, we can actually create a year-round destination for people coming into the state and into the city from outside areas as well. So our tax base would increase pretty dramatically on that end. So that the building up development along the river, along Charlotte Beach is pretty key, I would think, for the future of Rochester.
Howard?
Yeah, I have two questions. One, can you share with us some statistics in terms of unemployment in the Northwest? And can you kind of give us a breakdown along racial lines, racial demographics? And secondly, I'd like to know your thoughts, your involvement, your knowledge in terms of the RAISE report, in terms of implementing the RAISE report. What is your thinking around that? What is your knowledge of it? What is your involvement in it?
So the first part, the unemployment part, that's a little difficult to answer only because the district is so wide. We got Charlotte, Maplewood, Edgerton, Lyle Avenue. The average in the Northwest for unemployment, I can't give you a specific number there, but I believe that the average before COVID was around 17%. But that was mostly in Maplewood, Edgerton, and Lyle was really creating that higher number there. The racial breakdown is incredibly diverse. It is almost even all throughout when it comes to Black, Asian, a lot of Latinos are moving into the Northwest as well. A lot of Latinos are moving into the Northwest. So the numbers have changed so much during COVID for both unemployment and racial breakdown that I would love to see the update for that. That's a really good question. I'm gonna email, see if we can get that information. I can certainly follow back up with you on that, see what the change looks like. Because I would love to see that unemployment number. Because I was working with a nonprofit that's looking to start up a business that works with folks who are looking to start up businesses. So that was their biggest concern, was the unemployment in their surrounding districts. So I'll follow back up with you, Howard, on that. The race report that was started before I came in. I'm not actively involved on the race report. That's something that Willie Lightfoot really took over it. He's been pretty integral with that. Lachey Harris has been on as well because she's been on longer. I have not been actively involved with the race report.
Did you have any thoughts around it? Around its importance or not important, or just, you don't, if you don't, you don't, but I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts about it? Because it's pretty major initiative.
I believe that there's a lot of good that can be done that comes out of the report. We have to make sure our city has follow-up though, because there's a lot of times that a lot of money goes into these companies, into these corporations that are supposed to help our city, but the numbers don't support the amount of money that we're pouring into them. So I would like to see our city make sure that we have a better follow-up process in order to make sure that this race report, when it does get enacted fully, that we are putting the money to work in the best possible way. A lot of times we're giving out money to these companies that are coming in from out of state to come in and then tell us how to run our city. I don't see how that's appropriate use of funds. I think that we have some really smart people in our city that can really give us this information straight from the streets. So I just want to make sure we have follow-up on this. On really anything that we put this much money and time and attention to, because I don't want it to fall into the cracks, and I don't want companies from outside the city basically making money off of all the work that we're doing. So that's really the only real input I would have on that, to be honest.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mayor Evans provided his top priorities for the coming year, especially around youth and the violence and the opportunities for youth. And how do you see your activities and other council members' activities helping to support that effort to really get down the violence, but also to achieve more equity and opportunities for people?
It's such a tough conversation to be had, because it's our city is hurting. You know, COVID was just exacerbated a lot of the issues that we were already seeing with the unemployment, with the lack of jobs, with the lack of income for a lot of people. And then COVID comes in and just annihilates a lot of that. And, you know, having people stuck inside for months at a time, losing their jobs, losing their businesses. It really was just a tidal wave of a lot of things in Rochester in 2020 and 2021. And on top of that, what happened with Daniel Prude and the cover-up that I thought was a cover-up of that. So we have to make sure that our community has the voice. And we can't, as elected officials, we are elected to be the voice of the community, but I feel a lot of times people forget that they need to still return to the community and make sure that they have the most up-to-date information, make sure that they're still listening to the community, make sure that the entire community is able to speak up. I believe that working hand in hand with the faith community is huge. That's something that I've been doing on my end, working with the faith community. I believe that without God, I'm a believer. I've been very honest with my beliefs. I do believe that without God being first and foremost in our lives, a lot of things are going to take a long time to change if they ever do. And so if we work hand in hand with the faith leaders and make sure that the money that the city is going to be getting in from the federal government, we have a lot of money coming in, and we need to make sure we spend it the right way, make sure that we're really building up the community and putting this money to work for what we want in the community. And each community is different. You know, Northwest is so dynamically different from, let's say, like the Southeast. Even within the Northwest, I have communities within the Northwest that are dynamically different. So it's got to come back to listening to community, listening to the community leaders, the faith leaders, the community associations, the business associations, just getting back to the basics. It just basic block and tackle, dynamics there. It's get back to listening to community, get back to giving them a voice. And I really believe that if you empower the people, if you empower them and say, look, we're going to spend this money the way you want us to spend it, we will see a difference there. But we can't let politics get in the way of bringing the city back to where we need to be.
Barb, I thought your hand up for a moment. Was that?
I don't think I put my hand up, but I have a question if you.
Oh, I thought I saw your hand go up. Sorry. Go ahead, Barb.
So the Northwest District overlaps with what, 3, 4, 5 legislative districts. And those legislative districts contain a number of neighborhood associations. You mentioned the neighborhoods, but those associations are diced up between multiple districts. And I just wondered if you had any comments. I assume that sometimes you have to work with the county on some of the initiatives that you're trying to get in your area. How does that make it hard to do your job when you have that many people who have small interests in what you're doing? Like Charlotte is, a tiny sliver of Charlotte is stuck with Greece. So they're really cut off from the rest of Charlotte.
It is tough because you have so many people that everyone believes that they're right. Everyone wants to believe that they're right about how they feel, how they've been raised, and having everyone's input. I believe that if you increase the amount of input, you're going to find that there is a median there. There is an average. There is a bell curve there that you can fit the majority of the concerns under, and you're not going to make everybody happy. I'm certainly not one person that can make everybody happy, and I know that. But at the very least, I know I'm doing the right work, right? So if we're doing the right work, we're listening to the community as a whole, and we're giving people the ability to speak up and to have their voices actually heard. People with that empowerment and that feeling of at least knowing that their input was heard and they were amongst their community members, and they can see that there's different views all over the place. People more concerned about COVID, while other people are concerned about their job, while other people are concerned about their kids not going to school, while other people are concerned about, gunshots every night. There's so many things happening, and it feels like it can be overload for a lot of people. But when you allow people to come together, speak up, have their voices heard, and you then put into practice, what are we going to do next? What can we do next? And what do you want to see? I really believe at that point that people will have the buy-in, and there won't be as many battles against, the differing points of view of what should be number one concern. People will feel that their voices are heard and that we are actually doing something as a city to fix the ailments that the majority of people in that area are feeling. So it's always hard to balance, different wants and different concerns, but that's our job, right? That's what we're here to do. And we just gotta do it. I'm military, so it's drink water, drive on. Like there's no time for complaining about nothing. Let's get the job done.
So how often do you interact with the neighborhood associations? Are they an important voice that keeps you in touch with what people need or what people are thinking? Do you find it helpful, or is it just describe it?
It's a double-edged sword, because I really believe the community associations should be the voice of the community, but a lot of people who are in that community are not joining the community association. So for example, like Maplewood, I go to Maplewood meetings every single month, but the majority of people I see at these Maplewood meetings are white people. But we know Maplewood is not majority white. So I can't sit there and say that they're speaking up for the majority of the people in the Maplewood neighborhood. So it has to be a combination of the community association, the business association, because these businesses are seeing all the different people every single day, listening to them, and then also having that direct connection with the community, with my app, and with utilizing social media to speak directly to them as well and listen directly to them. So it's a double-edged sword. You know, I'm at every community association meeting every month. We've got 5 major ones for the most part that speak for the entirety of the Northwest. And then you got the business associations. There's currently 3 of them, but they don't always meet every month. So I think if you have your fingers in different avenues of gathering data, gathering intel. I was in military intelligence in the military as well. So gathering that intel is very important to me. If I want to analyze the data and really create the decision making that I believe the majority of my community wants, I have to have the data. Nothing means anything. I can speak up all I want, but that's not speaking for the community. I got to listen to them. So it's a double-edged sword. The community associations need to do a better job of outreach. The city needs to do a better job of funneling money to the community associations, because a lot of these people live in communities that are very poor and they don't have enough money to do, Facebook ads or do mailers and stuff like that. So I look forward to what Mayor Evans has said to me in conversation, that we are going to focus on finding money for our communities so that we can grow these community associations. We shall see what happens.
Brett?
Okay. So when I say you, I'm talking about the broader collective of the legislature. So don't take it personal.
Okay.
But you did make a comment that, the faith community leaders and the business leaders, what would make us as community think that anything is going to be different in speaking with them when pre-pandemic they were not doing anything, and that now post that they're going to do anything? So why, I guess I'm trying to say, why are people that we vote into these positions think that trying to do the same old thing is going to work any differently now? And then also is that I've not seen one body in this city called to question the books of these or nonprofit organizations that they give funds to make sure that they're impacting the community. I can right now go on the web and pull up some of these organizations and show you their financial statements and show that a good at least 80 to 90% of the funding that they receive go to salaries. And that is just unconscionable to me. And then also when you spoke about the neighborhood associations, these communities, including myself, and I don't go to mine because I have no faith that when I go, that anybody's going to listen to my voice. The people that we elect in the office, the services that we ask them to provide to us, they don't really need. I mean, when you talk about, the impoverished segments of the community, where you are personally, you're not impoverished. So not saying that you feel this way, but then what's the urgency for you if you're not hungry? You know what I mean? So this is where we are as a community, is even though we vote these people in office, always hoping that they're going to listen to what we say when they get in there. And at least, if not that, to just do what they said that they were going to do when they was, trying
Campaigning.
to get, they were wooing our vote.
Fred, you've hit a lot of the ailments of Rochester on the head. Where's the money going has been my question for a long time. And that's one of the things that got me into politics, is that, being being a business owner, being a business investor, I'm always looking at numbers. I'm always looking at the data. Is the business that is asking for investment actually producing the outcomes that would warrant an investment? In this city, I don't personally believe, speaking for myself, and I really think I'm speaking for the vast majority of people in the city of Rochester as well. I think I heard it in your words there too. I don't believe that the steady increase of taxes that has been imposed on me as a homeowner has produced the results of a quality of life that I would have seen increase as well. The schools aren't getting any better. The streets aren't getting any safer. The streets aren't getting any better for my vehicle that's bouncing all over the place with the potholes. No one's seeing the increase in quality of life that's commensurate to the increase in taxes that have been increasing every year. When we talk about money is always a tough conversation because a lot of these nonprofits, they don't have any KPIs, they don't have any key performance indicators that says if we spend this much, we're going to see this outcome. And a lot of them don't have that follow-up. And I have that question a lot for a lot of them. What we are giving you, I'm gonna throw out some random numbers here. We're giving you $100,000 a year to work on child pregnancy, right? To prevent child pregnancy. Where are the numbers that show that money has been put to good use? Where are the numbers that show that child rearing children is decreasing? Give me the reason to keep investing in this nonprofit. I'm just bringing that one up because that was the last one that was brought up for legislation. But like you said, will it be any different now? How can we tell it's gonna be any different now? And it really comes down to following the money and who is following the money. Who's keeping track of where these nonprofits are, how much we're giving to them, and where's a follow-up on that. For me in the Northwest, that's my biggest concern for the Northwest Service Center is having that capability, having that power behind them to be able to say, we have these nonprofits, this is the money that's going to them, and these are results that have come out of it. I personally feel that's part of that job there. They're servicing the neighborhoods. We need to know that our money, our tax money, is going to productive good use. You said no one calls question the financial reports when a lot of these nonprofits, they have 80 to 90% going into the salary. You're absolutely right about that. That blows my mind when, I had someone I was going to be working with before, they wanted to put something together and they said, okay, well, out of every, $100 that you get for this event that we're going to do, 50 of it's going to go towards the nonprofit. And I had a hard time with that. And I told him I couldn't be involved with that because that's way too high of a percentage, for operating expense. It should not be 50% going towards your salary and only 50% going to the community. So there has to be follow-up. There has to be leaders that are accountable to where our money is going to. And there has to be, like you said, there has been a lack of urgency for a lot of people because they may not have ever encountered that. And while I am now in a much better position, than I was 9 years ago, I can promise you I was homeless 9 years ago, sleeping on the floor of my shop, linoleum on the floor, putting down cardboard boxes. I know what poverty feels like. I know what that feels like. But I also know that we as a government entity need to put the money into position to best benefit our communities. And it's not, sometimes it's better to just give the people money. How much money have we spent on anti-poverty in this city? And what have we seen from it? Our poverty levels are worse. So I said to the last mayor, at this point, we might as well just giving that money away. We gave out hundreds of millions of dollars. We might as well just giving it to the people because what came of this? So it's such a tough conversation to have, money and nonprofits and the outcomes and, really actually being able to quantify them. It is tough. And that's why I said, there has to be a combination of government and faith leaders and business leaders, because I can't have my hands in everything. I can't have my eyes on everything. We need people like you, Fred, to be able to speak up and say, hey, I've seen this. Can we follow back up on this? And then we have the follow-up, the concerns actually be heard. But we have to follow where the money is going. That's how you're going to see if there's going to be any change. Where are we spending the money in 2022? All this money that's coming in with the budget we're going to be talking about in the next couple of months. Where is the money going to? should tell you if there's going to be any difference in this city in the next year or two. You know, I pray for Mayor Malik all the time. I prayed for Mayor Lovely Warren before. It's a tough conversation. I mean, it's a tough job. The city is very tough to lead. And, you know, as long as we get back to the basics, we'll be all right. We'll be all right, but we have to do it as a whole.
Jane, Mike,
Mr. Peo, I very much appreciate your focus on accountability. And it actually raises something that enables me to give a really good example of a point I wanted to follow up on with you. Accountability is extremely important to me. And one of the points that you made early on in this conversation was about concern about money going to outside organizations outside of the community, and that it should all be going to the community. I led 2 different nonprofit organizations, the Diabetes Association for a couple of years, and then Rochester Grantmakers Forum for 13 years. And we were very lean. We only had a couple, I think at one time it was maybe 3 people, all part-timers on staff. We worked with funders and nonprofits throughout the community, and we're very, very, very careful with our money. We held a conference to which we invited both funders and nonprofit folks, because one of the things I was passionate about was sort of serving as a bridge so that the two could work collaboratively with each other more effectively. And one of the things that came up, and I'm talking now about 25, 30 years ago, was the desire for greater accountability and the ability to evaluate, to see what was really happening and were results happening. Both the funders and the nonprofits were weak on those skills. So we had a couple of funders come forward who said, I'd be willing to help lead an effort to improve the skills of people in our community to do that. And that was the start of something called the Rochester Effectiveness Partnership, which regretfully only lasted, I think, about 8 years. But I was there for the first 4 or 5 years of it. And during that time period, we ended up educating most of our funder members and many nonprofits in the community about how to do a very straightforward form of evaluation that they could use when they were setting up new programs. They could then use regularly every 6 months to see had they reached the goals that they had set for themselves. And then every year they could report back to funders on what they had accomplished. And funders learned the same language so that they knew what to look for in proposals. You know, is what these guys are proposing logical? And then they knew what to look for as they got these reports. It was an incredibly effective partnership. It was probably the best project I worked on in my entire professional career in terms of the impacts that I saw and the education that it provided. And it actually got exported to some other communities. The point I want to make is we did not have the right person locally to do the training and to actually carry out what needed to be carried out in terms of the training and the nurturing of this initiative. And so our funder knew someone from New Jersey who had the right skills, and we brought her in. And she made a bucket of money off of us over the next 5 or 6 years, but she earned every penny. And I don't think the project would have succeeded in the way it succeeded if we had tried to use the other 2 or 3 people locally who were trying to be the people that wanted to lead it. So the point that I'm trying to make is sometimes it takes a blend of some of that outside expertise from somebody who's already done it, already has the skills, has already succeeded at it, to come in and then help the local people get up to speed on it. And I've also seen this, my husband's church is Spiritus Christi Church, and I go with him sometimes. Spiritus has this amazing track record in Haiti, in Chiapas, Mexico, and in Rochester with its prison outreach. And it does the same thing. In Haiti, it got asked by the government to take over and recreate a hospital in a whole area that hadn't for years had a hospital. And it brought in an international organization, Partners in Health, to help it, but it was based on find out what the local people need, train the local people so they can end up becoming staff, but it required that outside excellence.
Right.
So I want you to be aware of that and to keep that in mind and not just automatically say anybody from the outside, we don't want to pay you.
No, I completely understand that. I'm sorry if my word choice there got a little mixed up, but there are certainly times when we don't have the appropriate company in the area to really work on what it is that we're going to be funding. So I agree. I completely agree.
One of the biggest things that I did was if I was being asked to do something new in my organizations, I first asked, is anybody anywhere else already doing it well?
Right. Yeah. Don't reinvent the wheel.
You got it. You got it. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that input. You're absolutely right. And I think that second part of what you said, though, was they were training the people to be able to do it as well. I think that is very important to be able to say, look, you may not have won this RFP this time. We're going to bring this other company in, but we're going to have them work with you to build your base up. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. I appreciate that insight.
Howard?
Yes, I'd like to take about as much time as Mrs. Bleed did. Not quite as much, but I want to make a couple of general comments, and then Councilman Peo, I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. We can talk abstractly about accountability and key indicators for progress, and we need to hear from people like Fred and so forth. But you guys are the leaders, so we don't hear from you either. When money is being squandered, and we all know it is being squandered, we don't hear you say anything. I mean, you say something in these kinds of meetings, but we don't hear any public outcry from you in terms of the money that we know is being squandered. And you know, that's problematic in my mind. But also, I agree with your point about outsiders. We know it's not in every case, but there are too many cases where people are literally pimping this community. I asked you about the raise report. They already hired a firm from somewhere to come in and manage the raise report. We got people here with bukus of expertise in terms of individual institution structural racism. We don't need anybody for that. We definitely don't need anybody. And I'm not just speaking of myself. There are lots of experts in this community in terms of racism. So that's an example of where it's just nonsensical. And we have seen in many cases, especially as it relates to the school district, these people who come into Rochester with these blueprints that they try to lay on top of the conditions that exist in this town, and because they're so fundamentally different, no matter how good their program was, it doesn't work here. So the local specifics are very, very important, and that's not to say we never need outside help. We don't know everything, but there's a lot of stuff that we do know and that we don't need help with, but we hire people anyways. So now I'm going to turn the heat up just a little, and this is not personal, but you know that it really isn't.